Hello and welcome back to the AA NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And the NBA season's heating up. We've got just a little bit of news. But before we get to that, we're going to go through our power rankings, which might have changed pretty dramatically over the last week. You want to start?
Might have as well.
You want me to start?
You can start.
All right. At number 5, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia fell 2 spots from last week. And here's why. Philadelphia is 5-5 over their last 10. They would be let's check it out. They would be tied for the 4 seed in the West. And they lost they got their asses kicked last night. That's really a big part of it. They got the shit beat out of them by the Bucks. They lost to the Bucks again on Thursday. Yeah, they went 0-4 this last week. It was bad for the Philadelphia this last week. Steph put up like 50 against them, which he's putting up like 50 against everybody. But still, he had a really good game. They lost by 11 points, 3 points, 7 points, and 38. Yikes. So, like, each and every one of their losses was either a blowout or not super close. Like, the only really close game was the Suns game, which they still lost. So, the Sixers have kind of fallen off a little bit. They are a game and a half up on the Bucks, so watch out for the Bucks to potentially leapfrog them for that 2 seed, which would mean that the Sixers would have to potentially play Miami in the first round. Can you imagine that if that ended up happening? Because right now Miami's the 7 seed. They're a half game back from the Celtics, and even the Celtics, like the Celtics have been the Sixers' kryptonite over the last couple of years. So can you imagine the Sixers get leapfrogged by the Bucks? They're now the 6th seed, and they have to play either the Celtics or the Heat. And even now, they would have to play the Heat. So, god damn, that sucks, actually. I did not realize that.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, if the Bucks play the Celtics, they're probably going to sweep them. But if they play the Heat, there's a chance they lose. Which, either way, I think would be kind of funny. But
I'm always down to see the Celtics get killed.
But other than that, like, I don't think the Sixers would necessarily lose to the Celtics, but I could see them losing to the Heat. That I'm not too sure about. But like I don't think they'd lose to the Celtics.
Yeah.
But anyway, my number 5 spot, making their first ever appearance on the power rankings list. Probably their first ever appearance on any form of power ranking since like 2000. The New York Knickerbockers.
I cannot believe you.
Are number 5. Knicks fans rejoice. They are on a 9-game win streak. 4-0 this past week. They beat the Pelicans, Hornets, Hawks, and Raptors. And honestly, the biggest factor in them being on here was that the entire rest of the East was garbage this past week. So I put the Knicks on here.
That's fair. I strongly disagree, but it's fair.
Well, you're just a Knicks hater. That's what it is.
I'm not a Knicks hater. They're still like 5 games back from the 3rd best team.
Second best team.
In the East. They're like, they're 4 games back from the Bucks. They're 5.5 games back from the Sixers.
Yeah. And they're probably not going to lose for the rest of the season, so might as well put them on here now. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah. They're coming for that 1 seed. Watch out, NBA. Number 4, I got the Nets. The Nets are still good. They're the best team in the East. They beat the Celtics this week. They lost to the Raptors. They beat the Pelicans, and they lost by 2 to the Heat. They haven't had James Harden for a while. They didn't have Durant for multiple games, the last 3 games. And they still over those games, they won 2 of them. So I like that.
I thought they went 1-3 over their last 4.
They beat the Pelicans. They lost to the Raptors. They beat the Nets. Or they beat the Celtics. The Nets.
Wait, hold on.
The Nets beat the Celtics. They lost to the Raptors. They beat the Pelicans. They lost to the Heat. So they're 2-2 this week, but 2-1 without Durant.
Oh shoot! Maybe I misread something. I thought they were 1-3 over their last 4.
Does that change your power rankings?
No, not really. But oh yeah, I guess you're right. They did beat the Pelicans. That's on me.
So without Durant, they still were pretty solid. They get him back. I believe he plays today against the Suns. That game's in an hour. So yeah, the Nets, they did get leapfrogged by multiple Western Conference teams. My 3-1 are all West. But they're still the best team in the East. They are better than the Sixers, and they don't have, I would say, their 2 best players. Yeah. Like Harden and KD are probably their 2 best players, and they haven't had them, and they're still staying afloat. They're still staying the number 1 seed in the East with about 12 games to go.
My number 4 is the Denver Nuggets. They went 3-1 over their last week. They are the 4 seed, but they're tied for the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. So they're very good, but unfortunately the West is a lot tougher than the East. They beat the Grizzlies, Trailblazers, and Rockets, and they lost to the Warriors, which like everyone's losing to the Warriors right now. So yeah, that's okay. But they've been playing really well. What?
Do you want to know who they'd be playing in the first round if this season ended today?
They're the 4 seed. Who's the 5? Lakers?
The Lakers.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That sucks. Oh, I did not realize the separation between the 4 and the 5. It would be basically impossible for the Lakers to get anything higher than the 5 seed because they're 4 games back from the 4 seed, 7 games back from the 3.
They would pretty much either be the 4 or the 5 seed, I think, by the time the season
I
ends.
think it's the 5 or the 6, honestly, because the Mavs are a game and a half back.
Oh. So they make a potential Lakers-Clippers first-round matchup.
That would be so sick. I would love that.
That would be
I would
fun.
like it a lot more if they put, because like I think I would like Mavericks Nuggets more than Nuggets Lakers and Mavericks Clippers. Although Mavericks Clippers Part 2 would be kind of sick too. But I think I'd rather see Luka versus Jokic because those teams, especially without European. Murray. No. More because those teams, especially without Jamal Murray, they're way more evenly matched. Michael Porter Jr. Has been balling out. He balled out last
39
night.
39 yesterday.
Yeah.
Career high. So
the Nuggets are staying afloat, and I think that I still think that they're good enough to win a playoff series even without Jamal Murray, and I think they're very evenly matched against the Mavericks if they play in the first round. Their coaches are pretty equal too, so I think I would like that first round a lot more than the Lakers because I think the Lakers would just kill them.
Yeah, assuming LeBron comes back for the first round, obviously, yeah, I think the Lakers would sweep them or gentlemen sweep them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nuggets number 4. What you got?
My number 3 is Phoenix. Phoenix is still staying up there in the West. They're still good. Over the last week, they are 3-0, which is nice. They had a really good game against the Bucks Monday night. They won on kind of a technicality. That was a weird game. But they beat the Bucks, the Sixers, and they lost to the Celtics. I'm sorry. So they're 2-1, not 3-0. But they beat, I would say, 2 of the 3 best teams in the East. They beat the Bucks and Sixers. Although don't sleep on the Knicks. And they lost to the Celtics.
Sleep on the Knicks.
They're still a game and a half back though from the first seed, so I couldn't put them quite up. Like I definitely couldn't put them above. And they have not been quite as good as the team that I have number 2 over the last couple weeks. So there's that.
My number 3 is also the Suns. You pretty much covered everything. They've been playing really well, but they just haven't been better than 2 other teams. So, yeah. I mean, I don't have much to say. You pretty much covered everything that needed to be said about the Suns. So, who's your number 2?
My number 2, it is the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are 9-1 over their last 10. They are a half game back from the 2 seed in the West. Over the last week, and they, to my knowledge, they have not had Kawhi for a couple of games at least.
Yeah, Paul George has just been playing well.
Yeah.
Like, really well.
Well, it's not the playoffs yet.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, obviously it's not going to stick once the 7-game series start, but for now he's playing well.
Kawhi has missed the last 3 games. He played versus the Timberwolves, but he only played 23 minutes, and then he missed. So he's missed 7 out of the last 8. They're 9-1 over the last 10, so Paul George is holding down the fort. They got Rondo, who's getting into his playoff form. They beat the Rockets this week. They beat the Grizzlies this week. They beat the Blazers this week. I would say that's probably their best win. And they beat the Timberwolves this week. Their only loss over the last 10 is to the Sixers, who they lost to by 3. So, all in all, very good stretch for the Clippers. 9-1 over the last 10. 4-0 this week. So, that's why I have them at 2.
My number 2 is the Utah Jazz. They went 2-1 over their last week. They're 44-16, best record in the league. However, the Clippers are 43-19, so they've played a few more games than the Jazz, but they are 1 win behind. And the Jazz this past week, they beat the Lakers, who have not been good, the Rockets, who we'll talk about later, but have also not been good, and they lost to the Timberwolves, which I consider to be a pretty bad loss. So I had to bump them down a little bit. They're still obviously one of the best teams in the league, but over this past week, they did not show it.
Did you see that stat that the Jazz have 4 home losses this year, and 2 of them are against the Timberwolves?
Really?
Yeah, the 2 of their 4 home losses this year are against the Timberwolves.
Why are you losing to that team?
I don't know, dude. The Timberwolves are kind of spicy.
No, they're not. They have been eliminated from playoff contention.
I don't know.
It's physically impossible for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but they're still spicy.
No, they're very mild. They suck. Anyway, I'm assuming I know you're number 1. So, you just want to?
My number 1 is the Jazz.
Yeah.
The Jazz are they're still 2 games ahead of the Clippers because they have 3 less losses. I get it that the Clippers have 1 more win or 1 less win, but the Jazz are still firmly ahead of them in the loss category. They did lose to the Wolves this week, but I mean, the Wolves have won 17 games. They're going to get a good win in there occasionally. I'm not too worried about that. They beat the shit out of the Rockets. They beat the Lakers, and the Lakers aren't great. You're right, but it's still a decent Lakers team that they beat. And, yeah, I think if the Clippers stay on this track for next week, I probably will have them 1, but I just can't do it quite yet.
Yeah, that's fair. My number 1 is the Clippers, obviously. They went 4-0. They beat the Timberwolves, Blazers, Grizzlies, and Rockets. I mean, you kind of covered all this stuff. They're playing really well, especially without Kawhi. And, yeah, I can't wait to watch them fall apart in the playoffs. Hopefully they do well, because I do want to see them have entertaining playoff series and stuff, so I want them to win games. But historically, probably not going to happen. So,
yeah. If last year tells us anything.
Yeah. Anyway, next, so now we're on to news and stuff, First thing I wanted to talk about, and I kind of did just talk about it, but the Rockets and Timberwolves are completely eliminated from playoff contention. It is physically impossible for either of those teams to make the playoffs, even the play-in tournament.
Which is weird because the West is so damn good at the top this year. But at the bottom, they're horrific. They're terrible.
I haven't,
the Thunder...
What?
No, you go ahead.
I said I haven't, done the math or anything, but I feel like it'd be pretty funny if they weren't, mathematically eliminated, but the NBA was just like, yeah, you guys aren't going to, win more games, so we might as well eliminate you now.
Yeah. It looks like the Pistons, Magic, and Thunder will be the next 3 teams on the chopping block, which, even with Lugan's Dort, the Thunder are 0-10 over the last 10. Even with Lugan's Dort balling, they're still terrible.
How many have they lost in a row now?
At least 10.
Well, yeah, obviously.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They lost to the Pistons. They lost to the Blazers. They lost to the Suns. They've lost 13 straight. Their last win was March 31st against the Raptors. They haven't won in the month of April.
When was the last game Shea played? Because I know he's been out for a little while, but that is embarrassing.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has missed. God, it's such a pain in the ass to find game by game stats. He has not played since March 22nd.
Okay, so pretty much they haven't won since they lost him.
Yeah, they've won the last game Shea played on March 22nd. Then they lost to the Grizzlies. They lost to the Celtics. They lost to the Mavericks. They beat the Raptors. So since Shea has been out, they have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. They've lost 16 out of 17 games, including God. 13 straight.
Oh, no. You know what they say, drastic times call for drastic measures. It's time to bring back Al Horford.
Hell yeah.
They gotta win some games.
Yeah, they do need to win some games. That is really
that
pathetic,
is horrendous.
Honestly.
That's worse than the Rockets and Timberwolves. No, the Rockets lost 20 straight. Never mind. It's worse than the Timberwolves, though.
Yeah, but, God, that is... Oh, man.
That's embarrassing. Come on, Thunder. Get it together. I know you don't have Shea, and you have a rookie head coach, and you got the youngest team in the NBA, younger than some college teams, and you're, trying to lose.
Their head coach?
I don't know. They hired someone new, obviously, but I don't actually know who it was.
Yeah, I genuinely, if you ask me, if you put up all 30 NBA head coaches, I could probably match them with their team, but there would probably be 5 where I just couldn't do it.
And you just guess and check or something?
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah. Let me look at it. So the Thunder's head coach this season, so far,
because there are just some teams I don't watch, and the Thunder are one of those teams because they're so bad.
Their head coach is Mark Daignault. I don't know how to say it. But yeah,
so they're going to be the next team to get eliminated, I would guess, unless it's the Pistons or the Magic.
And the thing with the Pistons and Magic is they're in the East, so it's significantly easier for them to make it into that 10-seed range, so they probably won't get eliminated for a while.
I don't know. They only have 18 wins each.
Yeah, but you can get to the 10 seed with 25 wins.
Yeah, but that's still they are 9 and 8 games back from that 10 seed. The Thunder are 10. So it's pretty similar. Okay. The Thunder, yeah, you're right though. The Thunder will probably be the next team eliminated if I had to guess.
Yeah. I guess since we're on the topic of this, I mean, we've talked about it before, but like, it still bothers me that they're having a play-in tournament this year.
Yeah, it sucks. I get why they originally did it, I believe, because they weren't sure if every game was going to be able to get played. Like, if they were basically preparing for an outbreak to happen and for games to have to be canceled. And when that ended up not happening, it basically makes the play-in tournament kind of useless, right? Like,
yeah,
they were able to reschedule all the games that had to be canceled, and I don't think very many games did have to be canceled. So having a play-in tournament now, it's just like, okay, well, the playoffs are kind of cheapened now because the Wizards or Bulls might have a shot to get the 8 seed, even though they're firmly out of it right now.
The problem with the NBA is that, like, it's different from other sports in the sense that all it takes, like, one player can just have their night and win any game on any given night. So you have a team, you have all these teams that are, like, working hard to get to the top 8 seeds, and then you're pretty much saying, here's the second chance to the teams that weren't good enough to make it. Last season was different because it got cut short and they had less games and they weren't prepared for it. But this season they came in with a plan and everyone was prepared to have less games. So I don't understand why you have to have a play-in tournament.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
I don't know. It's just something that kind of bothers me about this season.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Next up, Anthony Davis came back pretty recently. So he hasn't played in 3 years, something like that, roughly. So he hasn't been very good. He's actually been very bad. He's part of the reason Lakers have not been winning games because he's been bad. But obviously he's still got to get into NBA game form. It's been a while for him, and obviously he was rehabbing an injury, so it's not that big of a deal. And then when LeBron comes back and they get into the playoffs, it won't matter anyway. So
Anthony Davis, since coming back, has gone 5 of 19. He's shot 26% and 20% from the field and scored 17 and 4 points. He's got 3 and 4 rebounds. He's got 1 total block. He's been bad. Really, I didn't realize how bad he was until you said that, and I was like, oh, how bad has he been? And he's been really bad.
No, he's been he's been playing like if a role player got a little too much hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a bad role player.
Yeah, which is, it's why it's funny to me when people are like, Anthony Davis came in and carried LeBron. No. Anthony Davis, his teams were always shit. He was always good and his teams were bad. So now that we're seeing him on a team that is bad again, like a team that does not have a supporting cast, we're seeing Anthony Davis come out, and yes, he's coming off of an injury, so that's part of the reason why he's been bad statistically. But they're also like a bad team, so they're not winning games. So obviously he didn't carry LeBron.
Anthony Davis was never one of these guys that would take a bad team to the playoffs.
Yeah, he always needed somebody else.
Yeah,
like Drew Holiday was arguably a better player in that playoffs than he was.
Yeah,
where they went to like the second round or whatever.
Yeah, and even again, like that one season, I'm pretty sure they got swept in the first round or they lost in 5. But that season with DeMarcus Cousins, where he got hurt and obviously didn't play in the playoffs, but he was a very big reason why they were so good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Anthony Davis is back. LaMelo Ball is also supposed to come back soon from his wrist injury or whatever. I know they said he was supposed to be out for like the rest of the season, but the Hornets are making a playoff push right now. Or I think they're already in the playoffs, but they've been dropping in seeding.
They're the 8th seed right now.
They were like
they
the
went from like the
6th
to the 8. Yeah.
But hope he'll be back. I mean, that's good. He's been fun to watch, and hopefully they can like start winning some games and get back into like a better seed for the playoffs. But
I agree.
Yeah, because who doesn't?
I think they could give somebody a good first round series. Actually,
yeah, not like the Nets, who they'd be playing right now.
I don't know. I feel like they've beaten the Nets once or twice, or they've played like a couple really good games against the Nets. It was early in the season before they had Harden, but especially if they don't have Harden for like maybe the first couple games of the playoffs, which it seems like it might happen. I think there's a good chance they could take a game or two off. I would rather see them in the 7th seed though against a team like the Sixers or the Bucks.
Yeah. Bro, what if there was a conference finals matchup of Hornets versus Knicks? Knicks make it to the NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers and dethrone LeBron.
That would be kind of funny, but it's not going to happen.
Can you say with 100% certainty that it will never happen?
Not this year.
Exactly.
No, I can say with absolute 100% certainty that that situation you just outlined is not going to happen.
Really? You can 100% guarantee it.
Yes, I will guarantee to you that the Knicks are not going to go to the finals and beat the Lakers.
All right, that's on record.
Partly because I'm not even confident that the Lakers are going to be in the finals. That's part of it. But it's also the fucking Knicks in the playoffs, and the Nets are better than them, the Sixers are better than them, the Bucks are better than them. I'd take my chances with the Hawks. The Celtics could beat them, the Heat could beat them. Like, it's the Knicks, dude.
All right,
it's the Knicks.
It's on record. The podcast has evidence that when the Knicks win the championship, you will be eating your words.
I will, dude. I absolutely. I will 100% take it all back if the Knicks go to the finals and they beat the Lakers.
Okay, good. And then next up, Miles Turner is out indefinitely with a foot injury. I called it. Pacers can't escape injuries, and they're always foot injuries.
Pacers suck. The Pacers just suck. They're bad.
The Pacers also suck. We were talking about this when we were playing basketball the other day, me, Ryan, and Mitchell, about like all their problems. About like
their problems
Malcolm
are that
Brogdon
they're terrible.
Being bad. Karras hasn't been great, which he came back from cancer, so
but that's the thing is Karras hasn't even been bad. He's just like he's not like elevating the team, which is what the Pacers need. Which like that's not a bad thing that he's not, but he's averaging like 19 points a game. He's playing well. It's just.
I mean, he's playing fine, but he's shooting 27% from 3.
That is bad.
He's playing bad defense, which is expected, but, come on. And then, again, Malcolm Brogdon hasn't been amazing. The team as a general just hasn't really been amazing, except for T.J. McConnell, who's always amazing.
Yeah.
But the Pacers have had a rough season. And again, it's new... Obviously, like new players, there's like some move around in the off season, new coach, so stuff like this will happen. But it's definitely not a great look.
Yeah,
and T.J. Warren hasn't played the whole season, so that obviously has an impact because he's a 20-point per game scorer. But I'd prefer it if we won a few more games.
I would too. You want to talk about how bad the Bulls are?
Not particularly, but we can.
The Bulls are really bad, dude.
They are. They have, I don't know like their exact record, but they have not been good since the Vooch trade.
They're 3-7 over the last 10, which I believe is about... Now it would be more than 10 games. It would be more like 15 or 20 with Vooch.
Either way, they haven't won many games with Vooch.
Yeah.
They've been bad, sadly. But they're not as bad as the Magic. So.
Yeah, but the Magic have year picks now.
Yeah, but like they're not going to draft anyone good with them,
They're pretty decent at drafting, actually.
We talked about this before, and we have a difference of opinion on it. But historically, when the Magic have like a high lottery pick, which if the Bulls continue playing like this, it will be a high lottery pick.
Shaq, Penny, Dwight Howard.
All right, since their new management. I don't think
they took Jonathan Isaac. He's pretty good.
So they took John Isaac.
Aaron Gordon's one of the better players from that draft. They drafted Cole Anthony last year. He's been pretty good.
Yeah, but
he wasn't even a lottery pick.
he wasn't a lottery pick. That's true. But also another thing with Cole Anthony is he's played like half a season, so
well, yeah,
it's hard to really say so on him just yet. But
how does the lottery work this year?
I think it's working the same as it worked last year, where you're the top.
Well, because there's the play-in. So would the 9 and the 10 seed, let's say the Wizards stay the 10 seed, but they win all the play-in games so that they're the 8 seed. Do the Hornets now have the Wizards lottery odds? Do they have the 9 seeds lottery odds? Or are they still in the 8 seeds lottery odds, which is none? Like, would the Wizards still have the 10 seed odds?
No, so I think the way it works is if the Wizards... Wait, who's the 9 seed?
The Pacers.
Okay, so say the Pacers didn't win their play-in thing, but the Wizards did, and they take the Hornets spot. Then I think the Hornets move down to the 9 seed, the Pacers move down to the 10 seed, and the Wizards take that 8 seed. And then that's how the lottery would work, maybe.
Got it. Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's why they did it last year.
Because I've been talking to my dad about it, and I genuinely don't know.
No, it'd be kind of broken if you could make the playoffs and then have your pick still be, have a chance for the number 1 overall pick.
Still have, the top 10 odds to get it or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, even the past few seasons, I guess not every season, but, the Pelicans were the 10 seed and they got the number 1 pick, and the Grizzlies got the number 2 pick when they got Zion and Ja and stuff. So with the new odds, theoretically any team that's obviously in the lottery could get any pick.
Yeah, since with these new odds, the top 3 odds teams have gotten the pick once, and the field has gotten it once, right? Because the Pelicans were the 8th best, I think.
The Pelicans were the Timberwolves best odds.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So the Pelicans were 11th best, and they got it. Yeah. And then were the Timberwolves? Yeah, the Timberwolves were top 3 odds last year. It was them, the Warriors, and somebody else who each had the top, the 14%, right?
I don't remember exactly, but it's the Timberwolves, so I would assume they were a bottom 3 team in the league. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that Karis LeVert has the nickname Baby Durant for some reason?
What?
That's what Basketball Reference says. I just looked at it.
Well, Big Penguin, Andre Drummond.
No, but that's different from having a 6'6" guard be called Baby Durant.
That's true. Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense. But yeah, anyway, I think the way the odds would work this season is the Timberwolves, Rockets, and then probably the Pistons or Thunder would have the tied odds for the number 1 pick, and then again with the play-in stuff they would just fill that in as they go. But again, theoretically with the new odds, the 13th best team or the 13th lowest odds or whatever could still get the first pick. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I don't know. How do you feel about that? Just have it any team has a chance to get the number 1 pick.
I would like that more. I like every team has the exact same odds.
No, this way they currently have it, where teams in the lower parts have increased odds, and the top 3 teams have even odds. What do you think about that?
I like it. I mean, because let's be real, the Sixers ruined it for everybody, right? The trust the process era completely destroyed the integrity of the draft lottery, and people knew about tanking before, but it was we were going to purposefully tank for 3 or 4 straight years, ruin the product for the fan base, so that we can get, and they ended up, they won. They got Embiid, they got Simmons, they got Fultz, but Embiid and Simmons,
and they
really
got
good.
Michael Carter-Williams,
Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor. So actually, they missed on more of those picks than they hit on, but they still hit on enough to be a very good team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't love that. And that's the other thing. The Timberwolves have been dog shit for 20 years. They've had, I think, they've had close to the most lottery picks. They've had multiple number 1 overalls.
Which is impressive because they're one of the newest franchises.
Yeah, they haven't been able to parlay it into any long-term success. The most success they've had is when they traded like basically an entire draft for Jimmy Butler, and they were like the 8th seed. And then they weren't able to get him to re-sign. Like, they couldn't convince him to stay. So, I mean, it's...
Well, the thing with the Timberwolves is I don't even think you could give them the number 1 overall pick for the next 5 years. I don't think it would matter.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, they got Cat. They traded for Wiggins, who was the number 1 pick. They got D'Angelo Russell. Pick. Yeah, they traded for D'Lo, who was the number 2 pick in this draft. They got Anthony Edwards, who was the number 1 pick.
They'll probably get a top 2 or 3 pick again this year.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that they get the number 1 pick this year. Like, it doesn't fucking matter if your management is incompetent. It doesn't matter how many number 1 draft picks you have. So that's where I kind of actually like the lottery odds, because a team like, if a team that consistently gets the 6th pick drafts really well, like 2 years in a row, then they're not going to have many more 6th picks to deal with. Like, they're going to be in the playoffs. Like a team like the Bulls. The Bulls drafted Kobe White, and then they drafted Patrick Williams, who I think Patrick Williams is going to be very good, and Kobe White's pretty good. Like, they hit on both of those picks. They've hit on more picks than they've missed on in recent years. Like, Lowry's pretty good. They hit on Kobe. It seems like they've hit on Patrick Williams. So, they're bad for other reasons this year, but bad drafting is not the reason that they are. A team like the Mavericks. The Mavericks were not great for a couple of years, but they also had a bad roster, so it's not like they were... Like, I know Mark Cuban kind of said they were tanking on purpose, but, like, I mean, let's be real here. It's very hard to tank on purpose.
They were just bad.
And, like, I think he kind of said that and was, like, half kidding. Like, I'm sure that there was an element of truth to that, but they got their guy, and then they stopped tanking immediately. Like, tanking is only bad if you're, like, consistently doing it for multiple years. Like, if the Pacers tank this year, I'd be fine with it, because we stink anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't really I'm fine with eliminating tanking. I don't think that I do think it's bad if a team like really, really sucks and like they have a shitty roster and then they get like the 6th overall pick, like what happened to the Suns a couple years ago. Like they were like one of the worst teams in the league, and then they got stuck with like, who did they take with that pick?
Which year?
The first year, it was the year that the Pelicans got the number 1 overall pick. It was like the Knicks got the 3rd pick, the Cavs got the 5th pick, the Suns got the 6th pick.
That was so the Zion draft, that one.
Yeah.
Who did they take? Because they took Ayton the year before.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So they took
so it was the Suns, the Cavs, and the Knicks. They drafted
Jarrett Culver and they traded him.
That's right, yeah. So the Suns, the Cavs, and the Knicks.
They traded him for Cam Johnson.
That's right, yeah. So the Suns, the Cavs, and the Knicks were terrible. They had the 3 best odds, and they got the 3rd, 5th, and 6th pick. They kind of got screwed there, but, like, they were... Like, I don't really care if a team that's, like, really shitty gets screwed, because, like, it's going to discourage tanking. Like, yeah, it sucks that the Suns got the 6th pick, but... they got the 1st pick the year before. Like, I don't really care about it. What do you think?
Well, the only problem that I have with it is, like, if you're a team that's genuinely bad, like the Rockets, for example, are genuinely bad. And no one, like, they don't have the money to go out and sign anyone because they still have the John Wall contract, and Christian Wood's got a contract now, and they have a lot of money wrapped up. And they're not going anywhere for the foreseeable future because I don't think anyone's going to sign to Houston unless a really good player is there, like a James Harden, to attract them. So they have no future outside of the draft, but they're shitty. So, like, if they don't get a really good pick, they kind of are screwed for next year. You already know, like, they're not going to do anything next year unless they really hit on a draft pick.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. It does kind of screw over a team that's genuinely bad, but I guess I'd rather have a team occasionally get screwed over that's genuinely bad than a team like the Sixers, like, just tank for 5 years and build a super team with draft picks,
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
Because, like, if a team's good enough at draft, like the Warriors, for example, the Warriors had Curry was the 7th pick. Clay was like the 11th pick. Draymond was like the 35th overall pick. Like, they built an incredible team with like non-top 5 picks. Like, none of those guys were top 5 guys. So that's where I kind of like. That's where I'm kind of like
lucky by how stupid the Timberwolves are.
They did, but they did, yeah. But, like, the Clay pick, the Draymond pick, like, both of those, Harrison Barnes, like, most of their championship team was built through the draft, which is where I'm kind of like, well, anybody can do that. If the Warriors, who are a historically pretty shitty franchise, especially, like, from the 80s to, like, 2012, like, they were terrible, and they were able to build their way out of it by hiring the right people and drafting well. So if the Warriors can do it, anybody can do it. Like, that's why I'm just kind of like, it doesn't really matter what draft pick you have. If you're good enough at drafting, you'll figure it out, right? Like,
yeah, no, that makes sense. And then our last thing for this episode, the MVP race has been getting quite spicy over these past few weeks.
Yes, it has.
Because obviously you've got like guys like Joel Embiid, whose team is now the 2 seed, but is having like a historical seed. Like, he's out of his mind, right? Then you've got a guy like Jokic, who's also playing out of his mind, but he's the 4 seed, but he's also in the Western Conference. Then you've got a guy, obviously, like some people, I don't think anymore, but earlier in the season were throwing out like a potential Kevin Durant MVP sort of thing, and then obviously not anymore. But like, Julius Randle has been getting a little bit of buzz, not much, because, you know, obviously
he's been getting MIP buzz, I think, more.
Yeah, well, it's not much of buzz as much as it is like they're on a 9-game win streak, and Knicks fans are really happy right now.
Yeah,
but one that I really wanted to talk about was Mr. Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors, who through the month of April has been averaging like 200 points on 50-50, 100 shooting or something like that, you know?
Yes.
No, but he's been playing like out of his mind. He's averaging like 40 points per game in the month of April. He's been not single-handedly carrying the Warriors, because Draymond Green...
it has been single-handed.
Well, the reason
it really has been.
Draymond Green, because like if you remember, like a few games ago, he had the stat where like 2 points, 19 assists, and 12 rebounds and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like he's been doing the bulk of this stuff, but Draymond's like playing his role and whatnot.
Yeah, Steph definitely deserves the MVP buzz. I don't think there's a chance in hell he gets it as the 10 seed.
They're not good enough. The team's not good enough for him to get it, but it is.
Even if, like, miraculously, because I guess they're only, 2.5 games back from the 7 seed, 3.5 games back from the 6. Like, even if they miraculously climbed up to the 6, which I don't really see happening, I don't think there's a chance he gets it. Because the Warriors stink. And, okay, so the Nuggets and Sixers actually have identical records. So that's where I think it's interesting. That's where I think the most interesting part of the MVP race is.
The Jokic Embiid debate?
Yeah.
Here's the thing I'll say about that. Jokic was my preseason prediction for MVP, so I kind of really want him to win it because I think that'd be awesome.
I also think he deserves it more than Embiid, if we're being real. Like,
really?
if I'm just being honest. Yeah, I do, because he's obviously playing in a tougher conference. He has a worse team around him. Even, like, he doesn't have Ben Simmons. He doesn't have Tobias Harris. And he's missed 0 games. Like, Joel Embiid missed like a month.
Yeah.
Like, that's really where it is. Like, I don't really care about all the advanced stats that say Jokic is better. He's been there. Embiid hasn't. Like, he's been there all season. He's playing in a tougher conference, and he has an equal record.
That's fair. Again, yeah, I want Jokic to win, so I will not disagree with anything you just said, because it is also very fair points. Because Embiid's missed how many, like 15 games maybe? Something around there?
He missed like 3 weeks.
Yeah. So, considerable games. Jokic, as you said, has been there every game. And honestly, they're kind of playing a little better since Jamal Murray went out. Not because he's not there, obviously, but because I think everyone on that team sort of like turned it up a little bit to make up for that lost player.
Yeah.
But no, Jokic has been out of his mind. I think, honestly, the Aaron Gordon-Jokic combo is kind of underrated. That's a lot of fun.
Kind of nasty, dude.
Yeah, no, it's
He's
pretty
been a
insane.
god in pick and roll.
Yeah. But I want Jokic to win MVP as well.
Yeah.
I think by this point, LeBron is out of it.
LeBron is out.
He's missed too many games. KD and Harden are both out of it.
Yeah. In an MVP race this tight, you basically cannot miss. You can't miss time, which is why I have Jokic with the edge over Embiid, because he's just, like, it's typically what I go to, like, okay, well, which guy, like, who's missed more? If it's like, somebody missed like 3 games versus 4, I don't care. But if it's somebody missing 15 games versus 0, that's where I start to be like,
that is
okay, well, maybe, yeah.
But, we're not going to do like 3/4 season awards. We're just going to wait until the end of the season and then do our full award. Like, obviously before they announce the awards, but, like, we'll do our like predictions or our post-season awards or whatever. But honestly, just want to throw this out there before we end off the episode. Watch the Warriors. Steph Curry is must-see basketball right now.
Yeah, he is. Like, they're winning, which is nice. And Steph Curry, he's must-see TV.
If you liked 2015 Steph Curry, like, watch him.
Yeah,
it's not the exact same because they don't have Clay alongside him, obviously, but he's pretty much playing like that right now. So watch the Warriors, watch the Nuggets. Honestly, just watch the NBA, but don't watch the bad games.
Yeah. Make sure you know which games are good and which games are bad, because some of them are bad.
Yeah. Like, for example, you don't want to watch the Rockets.
Yes,
you don't want to watch the Pistons. You probably don't want to watch the Pacers, honestly. We watch them because we live here, but I wouldn't recommend it. So, definitely watch the Knicks. You don't want to miss out on that. Because I'm going to be here. Let this be known, Knicks fans. I am on your side when we win the championship. So. But yeah, you got anything else to add?
No, that's it.
All right. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to. Check out our other episodes. We upload every Sunday. We got our personal channels in the description as well. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one.
Bye.